2, 3, 4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah.
Hello and welcome to the EFM Health Club Podcast for another week. My name is Justin Waring. I will host you today with all of our discussions around something that's a little bit more technologically based. And with me to do that is Jason Jesusius and Wade Brady. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. Shouts. Cheers.
So we've done a lot of fitness and we've alluded to us being three guys in fitness over the last almost a year. And we wanted to discuss today something that is on most people's wrists. In particular, we're talking about wearables and technology and how that fits into fitness. So we did our podcast and I was talking to one of my members the other day about the running podcast. Something as simple as running up the street to get your heart rate up, do a bit of exercise, walking, running through the bush, whatever, seems to be now almost, it's essential that it has to be tracked by some kind of technology rather than just the pure joy of going and doing it. So I'm going to start with the basic question of, are these wearables, that's what I'm going to call, I don't really like that word, but wearables, are these wearables making us fitter or are they making us maybe a little more aware of what we're doing? What do you reckon, guys?
I'll go first. They definitely make us more aware. Whether it makes us fitter comes down to the individual and their application of that information. So there's a lot of great data that can be gleaned from tracking your runs, and that data can be tracked on a number of levels, from the simple to the very advanced. But if you don't know what you're looking for, or you do know what you're looking for, but you're not in a position to apply actions based on the learnings from that data, then it's just data, which is, for some people, data's fun. Data's something that they enjoy about their runs. They like looking at the end and going, oh, look, I ran at 10.7 kilometers per hour and my fastest speed was this and my heart rate got to that. And I was in zone 4 for this amount of time. And I know I'm throwing a bunch of numbers out at the moment, but some people get right into seeing what the numbers actually are, and then choose to do nothing with that data, or they want to see how many calories they burned or how many meters of elevation they gained. There's lots of different things that they can get access to, but whether they then A, know how to, and then B, choose to turn that into an action plan to help impact their training, that's another story. What's the percentage of people that do? Don't know. I would say for the average person using a wearable, I would say probably 80 to 90% are not using that to impact and improve their fitness.
Yeah.
Of the people we know, Jace, I reckon if you went the younger demographics of most crew in their 20, wouldn't surprise me if that flipped a bit more. But again, it's guesswork. Like we've introduced MyZone to the club many years ago, and a lot of the older people with a really good fitness habit just didn't feel like they needed it. They didn't need the help. They were just happy going old school and feeling good from their exercise, where others are probably younger people maybe trying to use it as a tool to keep them motivated, to keep them ticking over. But yeah, it's interesting. I just think it can help, it can work against. Overall, it probably has a positive effect in getting people moving. But I know myself, before I got onto MyZone, and I'm sure everyone's different, but I found with some of the devices and even just tracking my runs, I felt the pressure to go faster and faster, and it would put me off going for a run. So it can work. It can work both ways.
Because the marketing would say it would do the opposite, right? Inspire you to go faster. set benchmarks for yourself so that you're better the next time. Like, it's supposed to be inspiring. That's why we're sold these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you perform, you work harder and you work more consistently, so more often.
Yeah.
So you do it trying to, that they're meant to help with both of those.
Yeah.
Do
you guys wear anything? A watch, like you have MyZone, but that's not tracking you 24/7, right?
No.
No, but it's just, I like it in a way. It's a little bit constricting in a way. Like, some people find it more annoying than others, but I feel like once I've put it on, it gets me in the headspace of like, right, I'm doing my workout now.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was sold that I've tried a few different fitness things, and I just found them, as I said, off-putting. It's still interesting to track runs. Like I did City to Bay we did True Grit on the weekend, and a couple of the fitter guys would run off, turn around and come back to the group just to try and get a bit more out of it from a workout perspective. And I sort of thought a couple of times, it'd be interesting to have my Strava on to see how many total kilometres I run. So a lot of it, I think, is just interest. And if there's more interest, then it's more engaging, and then you're probably more likely to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just found the MyZone. It's funny. I'd written off fitness tech 6 or 7 years ago. Then when I got onto MyZone, I just found it like a real low-level pressure accountability type situation, and it's kept me really consistent. Sometimes I think it might actually hold me back too. Like, I might get to my goal of points and just sort of put my feet back up and relax a bit towards the end of a month. But overall, we all ebb and flow with the exercise, and I know I don't bottom out like I used to. So I've been consistent for probably about over 6 years now with it. So I've had a good experience with it, and I think most of the members that use MyZone would say something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you don't wear an Apple Watch or a Garmin or anything like to tell you steps and heart rate and whatever?
I gave it a little try because I just got when I got my last phone, it came with a Samsung watch, and I just find mine's flat all the time. The only thing I'm interested in there when I was wearing it was steps. And again, it was just interesting. It was actually interesting to see how many steps I did on my days where I ran all the sessions. And then you think about people that have office jobs and how few steps they must do in a day. And like, it's a good learning device, I guess. Where you, Jace, did you wear a watch?
I wear a Garmin. So my preferred mode of exercise is running. So I do like to track. And in recent times, I haven't been training for something specific. So it's more so I can track how far I've gone. Hey, I want to do 5Ks today. So, off I go. And I know roughly what a 5K route is, but as soon as my watch says 5Ks, wherever that is, if I'm doing 5 that day, that's kind of where I'll stop. But yeah, based on how my training's been going and what I've done that week, I might have an idea about, is it a long run today and steady, or is it short and sharp, or is it intervals? And I'm using my heart rate throughout my run as my guide based on what I want to accomplish that day. So for me, it's really instructive. Also, I use it not only for the running, but I track my sleep and my what do you call it? Body battery data out of curiosity as well. That data, I wouldn't say neither set is perfect for the sleep nor for the body battery, but they're pretty instructive as well. So I've found those helpful when I'm not training, and the data I get from my runs really instructive as well. And in particular, when I have been training for an event and I am trying to structure something more rigid and geared towards getting a particular result, if that makes sense. So
I found my measuring my sleep with my watch was I slept better when I wasn't wearing it.
Okay.
Well, and I think this is the bit that I find the most interesting, because I don't wear anything. I don't even wear a watch anymore, just because I can't be bothered. But I don't have, like, I'll take my phone on a run, and I think running and exercise is, you know, one aspect of the whole wearable situation. You're deliberately doing exercise, so you want to see how you're going, track, maybe see what kind of capacity you have. I think we put that in one little silo, and I think universally think it's probably got more benefits than negatives. Interesting, you're talking about sleep and the body battery. So I only learned about the body battery thing a little while ago. I'd never heard of that term before. And say you're getting really poor sleep, right? And the watch is telling you you're getting really poor sleep. Is that helpful? Like, don't you know that you're getting really poor sleep?
Yes.
And now you've been told, you know, maybe you thought you were sleeping all right, but you're being told you're not getting really good sleep by your phone, which is a rough estimate, like an estimate. So now you start to get a little bit anxious around your sleep. I know I'm, you know, taking a few jumps, but can these things just give you an overload of information that isn't particularly good for you?
The answer to me is yes, it can give you too much information. I think that's down to the individual and making a choice based on what suits you. So for some people, that'd stress them out and make it worse. For me, when I see the data, for me, it's my reminder. Okay, you know you didn't get a good night's sleep. You know you regularly don't get a good night's sleep on that night. So what can you do today? Oh, all right. So have you planned your nap, or are you going to make sure you get all your vegetables in and all your water and get your workout in, even though you didn't get a great night's sleep? Because those things impact good night's sleep the following night. And for me, I start planning ahead. Okay, when am I getting my next great night's sleep? In fitness, we obviously do early starts and late finishes. So I know I'm going to have multiple nights a week where I'm not getting a full night, and that's okay. But I find myself starting to plan ahead a little bit rather than worrying about it, if that makes sense. For me, it helps me to plan and try and make a better fist of what I can control. Yeah, if that makes sense. And that's not everyone. I completely understand. For others, it'd be like, oh my God, this is too much. It's an information overload. But for those inclined, it could be really beneficial.
I've got a bit of a theory in terms of if you're tracking everything all the time to try and live your best, healthiest life, and you're relying on these measures or devices, I think, are you then losing that inner ability to feel within yourself? What's the terminology?
Regulate your own things, and
the awareness in your own body. Like, I think of a lot of the people I know in my life that are very in tune with their body. That's what I was thinking of. Very in tune with their body. They know they just feel like they've got to go and move. They've just been run down. They've been at a weekend eating too much, not enough nutrients. You just get to the Sunday, it's like mock and feel. I think it takes away. My theory is sort of, if you're trying to measure everything, it can take away from just that inner in tune with your body. And I think that's probably the best thing. If you're really in tune with your body and practice that, it's sort of like the other way of doing it. I think, I don't know, I really don't know how this stuff could be measured, like how in tune someone is with their body.
Yeah.
How you can really weigh up the two. But as I say, like, the most healthy people I probably know, and the people that exercise regularly, they seem to be really in tune with their body. Where I've come across other people in the past that have joined the club, they've actually done really well, come in 4 times a week. They've gone from here to here, strength and fitness, they seem to have more energy and be happier, and then they'll stop. I don't know about happily, but I've just seen people stop after like 5, 6, 7 months, and I sort of think, how in tune can you be with your body if you could just stop? Like, I'd go mad, and most of the people I know would go mad. It's just an interesting, but that person might be better suited to having a wearable or something.
Go, Justin.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so you're talking about how do you measure being in tune with your body? And I think, and this is where, so I'll say now up front, I'm not a fan of wearables at all. Like, I think they're stupid. And that idea that how do you measure how in tune with your body you are? I think that's been kind of an education through the marketing, right? So I'm all for kind of understanding the level you're at. This is how fast I run. This is how much I bicep curl, I bench press, I squat, or whatever. You know, you can remember last week, or you can write it down. But this idea of measuring everything, I need to know where my body is at, so I know how to react. I know if I need to eat something or if I need more sleep. I need to know how many steps I've done to meet my quota. I need to know. And so it's like, I need to measure. And the only way I can measure is if I have something attached to my wrist.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's been an education and just an ongoing bombardment. Like, you don't know where you're at. Oh, and so I have people in the gym show me their watch. I go, my heart rate's at 93. What does that mean? It just beat 93 times that last minute. That's what it meant. How do you feel? I don't know. How am I supposed to feel? So I think it's just like we've been bombarded through marketing, and the marketing that I think is a bit obvious.
That's how it works, isn't it? Like, there's a product to sell, so you market to people and tell them they have this problem, so they can sell you the answer.
Yeah.
It is probably a bit of a con job overall, a bit like, wouldn't be an EFM podcast without an analogy from me, but it's probably a bit like breakfast cereal. Like, we're once upon a time, there was no such thing as breakfast cereal, and then we're told that we have to eat it. And apparently Kellogg's and these guys had a lot to do with that messaging. So,
and that it's the most important meal of the day. You've got to get your carbs in and your sugar.
So it's probably similar along those lines, where people are made to feel like they need it to get the most out of their training, where you don't.
Yeah,
obviously you don't. But
even the steps, right? So we're told 10,000 steps. Now it's down to what, 7,000, 8,000, whatever it is. How does someone know how many steps they've done? Well, they've got to have their watch on. Otherwise, my God, how could I possibly meet my step goal for the day? No one 25 years ago, before there were mobile devices or whatever, worried about how many steps they did. They just did exercise, and they tried to feel and be fit. Now, it doesn't work for everyone. Some people kind of want to lose weight and they kind of feel really fit, and they're not understanding of things. And I think that's where you could probably break it down a little bit. But we've been sold this idea that we have to have this device. Otherwise, how could we potentially know if we're fit or not? You couldn't possibly know unless this device tells us. And I wish I knew who said it, but I heard recently, and I think it's the greatest, line I've heard for a long time about this, that they are the Tamagotchi of the modern world. You are trying to keep yourself alive on your watch. It doesn't really matter how you're living in the real world. As long as you're alive on the watch, you must be absolutely perfect. And I don't like it particularly. That ends my rant.
And I get where you're coming from. And if I think about this from a different perspective, the average user, without coaching, the average user, wearables would create, in many instances, more stress, more problems than what they solve for a lot of people, because it's a lot of data, it's a lot of information that, to be frank, they don't know what to do with. They don't It's no disrespect, but I get questions like what you got, Justin. 93 beats per minute. Is that good? What should my maximum heart rate be? How come my maximum heart rate isn't the same as James's? Well, why aren't I getting into the red? He's getting into the red. I'm not in the red. Is there something wrong with me? No, there's not anything wrong with you, but I'm puffing really hard. Why aren't I in red? It was because your maximum heart rate's probably set wrong. But why is it set wrong? I don't understand. And they get themselves really worked up about something that's, hey, it's your maximum heart rate wasn't quite estimated correctly. It's all explainable, but there's a lot of stress that comes with it. And if there wasn't actually someone there to walk them through, what the issue actually is, then they'd be stuck on their own going, oh my God, like, and then what do? I'm not going to wear that anymore. Bugger that. And they've just wasted, if it's a MyZone, $150, or if it's a, worse, if it's an Apple Watch, 400 or more. I don't know what they charge for these days, but they're getting up there.
Thinking about it from our perspective that know a lot about heart rate and how it does vary from person to person, and all these things don't really matter. I think if you do, for example, like learn to understand the whole how it works, then you get back to the start and you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter then.
It kind of comes full circle. That's a good point. It goes full circle. The more you understand it, the more you go, well, each little element of that on its own in isolation in any one moment means nothing, right? Yeah,
I guess you just realise then you go full circle, and then I guess it's just interest then why you'd wear this. It's just interesting.
Yeah. I think we should silo wearables into two different categories. You have the ones that are sports specific, right, and used whilst you're exercising, and the data gained whilst you're exercising, I think can be extremely useful. So I go for a run. I use Strava. I have 3 friends, and 2 of them are my kids who follow me. No one else cares. And I mean, it sounds rude, but I don't really care what anyone else is doing either. So I use that, and I think that's valuable to tell me how far I've run, because I just walk out of my front door and I start running, and I roughly want to know how far I've gone. Beyond that, I don't really use anything. I find, so I think that's one solo. So, and MyZone, I think, is good for the user. One of the reasons I chose not to put it in the club at Westmead is because it was sold to me that I'll know when people are working harder against when they're not. And my argument to that is, if I don't know, with my experience, if someone's working hard, then I'm probably watching the basketball. I'm not watching out what people are doing. If I can't tell that they're working hard or lifting the right weights, I'm not really doing my job. So I'd rather use my own intuition and understand and be a little more engaged. So I think it forces me as an individual to be more engaged rather than relying on an external device to alert me to something that's happening. So, I see value in MyZone. I think it's really good for the individual user. And then I see the second silo as just the general data, the heart rate, the body battery, the steps per day. And so how many calories you burn, how much quality sleep did you get, whatever else is on there. I don't really know. What's your VO2 max of someone who doesn't really do a lot of exercise? And all the other diagnostics that can be on the watch as useless. I'll say it. I don't get it. And it's not that I don't use my phone. I have all kind of different types of technology, but I find this as a bit of a cop-out, and I think it's actually, I'd go as far as the volume of people that are positively affected by wearables, there would be equal, if not slightly more people who are negatively affected because it lulls them into a false sense of security, and then a whole bunch of people in the middle who wear them and get emails on their phone and talk on their phone like they're Maxwell Smart, who have no value, receive no value whatsoever.
Yeah, guilty confession that the notifications drive me up the wall, and so and at the moment I'm having an issue because every day I have to go. I'm going to do it again now. Once a day, I have to hold one of the buttons down and put my do not disturb back on, because the do not disturb keeps coming off. I'm like, I want it off. I don't want I'm sick of my watch buzzing. If I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, I don't want it to buzz, and I can't figure out how to permanently disable that or have it only so it's on at certain times of the day or whatever. So, on that front, you're constantly doing this. Whenever, sorry for the people that are listening, I'm looking down at my wristwatch. You know, every time it buzzes, you look down at your watch. It buzzes again, you look down at your watch, and you know, a conversation might break out online, and your watch buzzes a dozen times in a minute, and you're just like, for crying out loud, and you take your watch off. So in that sense, I'm 100% with you. That's when it becomes a real distraction and an issue, because it's not positively contributing to anything.
Yeah. And I think it would also withdraw you from any conversation you have in your gym. It happens to me all the time. I'm telling someone an exercise or talking to someone, and then they look down at their watch. I'm like, hang on, I haven't got my phone in my ear. Like, just because it's on your wrist, it's not. It's the same as pulling out your phone and sending a text message. Like, anyway, that's a larger conversation about.
Yeah, we've got a long way into this before I've even brought this up. My biggest gripe with calorie counting on whatever else you have, I reckon there'd be a lot. Again, this goes to highlight the importance of having the education on top of using the device. For all the people that just buy the device and go it alone, and they're just after calories, and that might be weight loss, it might be toning, you know, we know that one of the best things people can do for themselves for longevity is to add muscle to their frame, do strength training. I feel like these devices with the calorie counting, if you go to the gym, I'm sure a lot of people that wear these are familiar with this scenario. The more you get your heart rate up, the more calories your watch tells you burn. Okay, so I think people that don't really understand the afterburn of doing interval training and weight training, they would just tend to stick to the cardio machines because that's where they're going to burn the most calories. And so that is true in terms of in that 45-minute hour workout. But the thing with strength training and interval training, you're setting, as far as the science tells us, and if you're hungrier for the rest of the day after doing a heavy weight session, that's where the real truth lies. These devices do not pick up the extra calories you're burning at rest. So I just think if they could somehow track metabolism, I think you would see a big shift in people doing more weight training because they'd get a better score. That's just been a theory of mine for quite a while now, because and I've just got it from understanding people when they get MyZone belts and they come into the gym, and I basically have to tell them that the points they score doing weights are worth more than the points they score doing cardio, and that's it's pretty confusing, I think, when you hear it for the first time. But that's probably my biggest problem with calorie counting and burning, getting
calorie counting based on heart rate. You're dead right, Wade. Calorie counting based on heart rate doesn't factor in the metabolic benefits of lifting weights. It's as simple as that. And lifting weights to me is, well, we know is essential in terms of maintaining a healthy metabolism. And one of the secrets to successfully taking care of a healthy weight, not that the kilos are the number, but about reducing body fat. Resistance training is huge.
Yeah,
has a huge role to play there. So, and that doesn't show up, as you're saying, on your heart rate monitor.
Because another one in line with that is steps. So a lot of people, and again, it depends what your goal is, but if people are really trying to lose weight and improve their health with exercise, steps are so bloody misleading, I think, because I can get 20,000 steps in a day, which sounds bloody magnificent, but in that 20 steps, my heart rate might not have even gone near the workout zone. So it's just, it's a really, really simple rule. And sometimes I wonder if everyone understands it. Like if something's hard, there's a bigger payoff. So like this morning, someone was doing a plank and I said, bring your elbows back underneath yourself more. I just adjusted a couple of things and they're like, oh, that's harder. And I made the joke, it's a shame you don't get any more out of it when it's harder. And I was obviously being sarcastic. You're obviously going to get a hell of a lot more out of it. And it's just funny, like, I heard another story the other day, someone got corrected with a push-up and they said, oh, that's harder though. And it's like, but do you understand?
Is it about the number of push-ups you're doing, or is it about stressing your body?
Welcome harder because it means better results. So, and you're going to be moving better, more safely too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel like the whole tracking thing's very surface level when it comes to those sorts of things. Yeah.
So it sounds like, to me, like I may have kind of influenced that conversation, I know, about my negativity around not technology so much, but wearables and how useful they are. And it's pretty easy for me to sit up in my ivory tower in the Blue Mountains here overlooking the bush going, no, we don't need much technology. I'm just surrounded by snakes and lizards and birds. So I'm used to not relying on technology as much as everyone else, and I don't really want to be a part of it, says he, talking on a podcast via, Microsoft Teams. But I think ultimately, to me, these wearables and the information you get out of them is more about entertainment.
Yep.
Like you can either exercise and do it because you need to do it or want to do it or enjoy it, or you can do it to entertain yourself and maybe not it be as beneficial as you probably would have hoped. So I stick the wearables in the entertainment. I don't need any more entertainment.
It's a bit of a feel-good thing as well. Oh, look, this is what I did. I feel good about myself. Like it's a little bit of a pat on the back. And you know what? Yeah. Some people need that pat on the back, because maybe they don't hear nice things about themselves, or maybe they don't have very good self-talk. And then when they do a workout and they can see a good number, whether that's kilometers, steps, whatever, it is a moment where they can stop and pat themselves on the back. And that boosts their self-esteem for a moment. Now, long-term, should we be placing all of our, stock on our self-esteem in our wearables? No. If it provides encouragement for someone to come back and do their next workout, I think the whole conversation is quite great. I think wearables are definitely overused. Do they have a place? Yes. Do we use them to their full advantage or to their correct advantage? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
that's my.
And two things can be true at the same time. As in, I love playing basketball. My best workout of the week, my most enjoyable. But I'm so mad if I forget to take my MyZone belt, because I always I like the entertainment. Because I can't check my box score at the end of the game, Jace. Maybe I just like to. But it's funny because I know I can still, and this is feeding the ego, but if I really push it, I can still get my heart rate to 191 every game, and I've been able to maintain that for a number of years now. So I'm basically holding age. I'm not getting any older, so I wouldn't know that without my wearable, Justin. So,
that's right. You wouldn't know if you had grey hairs or anything. Yeah. There's that's no signalling from the grey hairs.
Did you dye your hair?
No, I was blessed.
There's absolutely no way that bloke dyes his hair. Come on, Wade.
I was look, to this point in time, I've been blessed with a lot of hair. and it's not just on my head; it is everywhere.
All right. Righto.
So, like, there's good and bad. There's some greys coming in, but and they'll eventually take over. But yeah, to this point, just pure luck.
I was going to throw a sledge in, but you sledged yourself. I don't need to.
Maybe it's because you're not stressing out from not getting your number of steps a day and all the track. You don't have any tracking to worry about.
No, I'm living quite an Amish life beyond, the odd phone call and whatever. And we try. I go bushwalking, running, and yeah, I don't, and I cop a lot of heat in the gym particularly from the women who I'm asking to do workouts from. I try not to let anything bother me. Life's too short. Life's too short to worry about how many steps I've done and how my watch is going to react to that. That's
what
all.
colour your hair is.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
good argument. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that might do it on my podcasting from my bedroom too today. So a lot of personal information from me. That'll do us for another week. So find us on Instagram at the EFM Health Club Podcast. Jason at EFM Mawson Lakes Instagram. Wade is EFM McGill Instagram, and I'm EFM Westmead. We're also on YouTube at EFM Fitness Online. So rate, subscribe on any of the podcast players. We'll be back probably in a fortnight with hopefully not as much personal information, but we'll have Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you soon.
See you, Justin.
Hey, guys. Do you shave your back?